Welcome to the Singer's Guide to Vowels. This is episode 3, and if you haven't already watched episode 1 in particular, it would be really useful to just quickly go back through that so that you get a good overview as to how we're going to be talking about vowels and how we are categorizing our vowels within singing. Now, in the last episode, we looked at our front vowels and the family of front vowels and how we can take them from most open to most closed and how we can use that in our songs to perhaps help us with the awkward parts, to perhaps help us with those awkward notes that get a little bit tight. Today, we're going to be looking at our back vowels. Now, we call them back vowels, remember, because the tongue sits further back in the mouth when we say them. And within those back vowels, where the tongue is further back, we're going to start by discovering our most open back vowel and how we can shift that in a little bit at a time so that we can move our vowels around in our songs to make life easier for us. Now, we're just looking at some of the more commonly used vowel sounds. And remember, these are the vowel sounds. So the sound that the vowel makes, not necessarily the name of the vowel when it's written down. And we're looking at the more commonly used vowels that I use when I'm teaching and when I'm helping people to develop their voice. But they're also going to be possibly the more commonly found vowels within your songs. So our back vowels, remember, our tongue is further back, and the most open back vowel that we're going to explore is R. R. It's a very kind of posh English sound. R. Last time we were talking very American. Ah. Today we're talking very posh English. R. Now, if I put this in the context of a word, the example that usually gets used between our teachers is R as in Bach. As in the composer, Bach. But you can think of R as in very posh English. We talked in the first episode about the difference between the accent in the south of England and particularly kind of that London area, Cockney in particular, versus northern England. And you're going to hear it particularly in these back vowels, the variations within the UK in particular, but all the English speaking countries, how they pronounce these back vowels are a big indicator as to where in the world they are from. So R is our most open vowel. And remember, the more open vowels give us more exposure to the hard palate, meaning that as the sound is vibrating from the vocal cords through the vocal tract, it's getting lots of bounce against that hard palate before it comes out of the mouth, which in turn makes it easier to get into the lower parts of our voice. Now, if we want to close that R down, so say, for example, we're singing an R in a song, if we want to close it down one, the next vowel along would be Now, here's where it's going to get tricky for you UK watchers here. Because this if I put this in the context of a word like buck, it's only going to be relevant if you're from particular parts of the country. So in the north, we wouldn't say buck, but you might if you're from Buckinghamshire. So again, you're going to think maybe slightly posh or slightly southern in order to get that vowel. Try it. See if you can find this vowel. Now, the reason I'm kind of really picking on this is because if you go northern, so say the word I'm giving you is mum, if you say it mum, it's a completely different vowel shape. It's a completely different thing. And so because it's a completely different vowel shape, it has a different shape in the vocal tract, which is going to influence how the sound vibrates differently. So I want you to understand the difference. So we're talking about now. So buck, if I were very posh. But if the vowel was R that you wanted to sing and you were getting a little stuck, and it was getting a little uncomfortable, you could change it to By doing that, we're closing it down a little bit. We're making it a little bit easier for the sound to shift into those higher parts of the voice. So if it's getting a little stuck on an R, the next one along is Now, here's where we go proper from south to north, because the next close in from is and that is basically the equivalent of going from London and seeing your mum to coming to the north and seeing your mum. That is the variation of that vowel. I'm saying that lots because if you're not used to hearing that slight variation in the vowel, those might sound almost exactly the same to you. But you can see in my mouth shape, and again, if I go sideways on, can you see how my lips are further forward? And therefore, this shape here is slightly different. And that has an influence on how easy or how difficult it might be to sing a particular word. So say we were singing the word mum, but we wanted to be from London. Mum! If it's getting a little stuck up high, mum! We might want to close it down as if you're from the north. Mum! Mum! That's going to give us more of that release into the top part of our voice, and hopefully not so much that we hear any difference in the word. If we start to hear that vowel narrowing or that vowel closing taking place, it's probably actually more than was necessary to help you through that awkward place. When we make these little adjustments, we should end up sounding like we're still singing the same word. If it no longer sounds like the same word, then it's too much and we need to scale that back a little bit. So from R to to U. So equivalent of Bach, buck, book. Reading a book, Now, if I want to take that one narrower, the next narrow one along when we're talking about these back vowels is oo, as in book. If you're from, again, particular places in the world, you might read a book. If you're in Liverpool, I would read a book, but I have friends who would definitely read a book. So this oo vowel is the next closed one along, and it's the most closed vowel of these back vowels. Ooh. And if you remember in our first video, so that you could feel the difference between the front vowel and the back vowel, I got you to say the E and the oo. Now these are both our most closed vowels within both of these families. E is the most closed vowel within that front vowel family, and oo is the most closed vowel in the back family. The difference is that in the E vowel, the tongue is further forward. So there is more resonating space in this first half of the vocal tract, less in the second half. Whereas when we say ooh, there is more space in the front here. So the second resonating space on the way out, less so in the first one. So that's why it makes a difference, and why for some people they might prefer an oo vowel over an E vowel, or vice versa, even though they're both quite closed vowels, and therefore they both can help you get into the higher parts of your voice. So again, going through that from most open to most closed in those back vowels, we've got R as in Bach, as in buck, U as in book, oo as in book, or boot, whatever oo word you want to put in there, that's fine. And we can use this sequence to help us out with our songs. So if we find ourselves on a difficult note, it's getting particularly tight and particularly high, and you can feel it getting uncomfortable up high. If you can find the next one along within that same family of vowels, that might well be enough to help you get through there. There's one other back vowel that I want to touch upon, because again, this is another one that you might come across quite often, and that is O. Now, O is another diphthong. So we talked in the last episode about A. A was a front vowel and also a diphthong. So remember, a diphthong is a vowel sound that is basically made up of two other vowel sounds tied together. So in this case, O, if I say it in slow motion, O, O. You can see or hear the two elements involved in that vowel. And it ends on that OO vowel, which is what makes this O quite a close vowel, because it's going to end with the tongue in the place where the OO vowel takes place. But it starts with O. And so when we go to narrow it in, OO is already about as narrow as we can get. We can't really narrow that in anymore. We can't close that down any further. But what we can close down is the first half. So instead of singing O, we might want to sing O. Do you hear the difference in that? O, O. Again, we're going from south of England to north of England here. O. I'm going to do my Eliza Doolittle impersonation in a minute. O. Yes, that's a far more open version of the O sound. If we go a little more northern, O, we close it down more. Now, I'm not for a minute suggesting that northerners are doing it right and southerners are doing it wrong, because if you are working on the lower notes in your voice and you're trying to build more of that depth and strength in the bottom of your voice, then the more closed version of those vowels are not going to help. You are going to want more of the open vowels, because remember, the more open vowels give us more exposure to the hard palate, which means it makes it easier for you to sing in the bottom part of your voice. So if you are struggling on a note down low and you're feeling like it's feeling low, if something feels like it's too low for you, then first thing we need to check in on is it actually too low, or are we approaching it in a way that's not particularly helpful? So it might be that the vowel isn't particularly helpful. If you've got to sing an OO very low down, that's quite tricky to do. But if you can open it up to the next one along, OO, OO, rather than the OO, that can make life easier. But understanding that sequence of vowels from most open to most closed is what's going to help you take control of your songs and figure out if there is a particular word that is troublesome, how can I change it so that it becomes a lot easier for me. I hope you have fun trying this out at home. And if you have any questions, please feel free to message me, write a comment. And if there are things that you want covered that I haven't covered in particular with regards to vowels, or words that you're not sure how you should go about closing down or opening up the vowels on, let me know. And by all means, I'd be happy to do a video at a later date that maybe answers some of the questions that you feel you haven't fully had answers yet.